Wait. Okay, go
Three,
now.
2, 1. Hello, Internet. This is episode 365 million of the Tech Podcast inThirty. I'm Justin Freed. My website is justinfreed.com. It's currently down. I also have freed.org, so don't worry. I'll get them both up sooner rather than later. For now, you can just visit heimtime.com, which is Heim Cohen's website. You're here, right, Heimtime?
I am, and I kind of want the URL cha.im, but that's going to
Okay.
cost me a fortune.
No, I don't know about that. I think that the top level domains from the it's like the federated. I don't know what it is.
I think
It's
it's going to cost them a fortune.
the Isle of Man TLD .im. They want 450 pounds a year.
That's a lot of money. Okay, and Paul N. Shapiro of paulandshapiro.com and searchwilderness.com, and also Paul N. Shapiro searchwilderness.com, and also paulshapiro.searchwilderness.
I have Pete Shap E.ro.
Okay. You can find Paul on any of those great URLs. And today...
The Romanian domain names, which is the .ro domain names, you buy for life.
Really? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The most expensive TLD I've ever used is .hn, which is Honduras, and I think at the time it was $87.
I just gave you one. The Isle of Man. They want 450 pounds.
That's also for a
the
so that's for a 3-letter domain at that TLD. My domain at .hn was only 2 letters. It was js.hn, Jersey Shore Hurricanes.
So each what's it called is longer. So the shorter the domain, the more expensive it is.
Typically, that is. It looked like for Honduras it was all the same though. But not tons of words. And I mean, the last name Khan ends in H N. Anyway, okay. So with that discussion of TLDs out of the way, and please, no one donate any money to Heim for his .im purchase. He doesn't need it. We're going to talk about other money issues, right, Heim? That's what you're in the market for? That's a pun.
Sure. I mean, specifically the Apple earnings. I mean, people were blown away that one single quarter, broke every record in human history.
It's funny you say that, because I was not blown away. And whenever people ask me for stock market advice, I say very easily, you know what? Buy Apple. $100 a share. Don't buy, instead of buying an iPhone for $200 plus, the rest of the subsidy stuff, buy 2 shares of Apple, because you know what? It goes up 20% a year, or it has been. And once again, the boys in Cupertino do a lot of hard work, so I don't have to. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. I'm not an investment genius.
Is buying an Apple share an in-app purchase?
No, Heim.
Really?
You get the sense that Apple was going to have such a record earning quarter. Like, did Apple do anything so miraculous that you thought that they would blow their previous earnings in the water?
It's when I look at their competition, and look, I'm not studying the supply chain. It's a feeling I get, just like seeing the stuff in the wild, and people are still willing to pay a premium, whether it even feels that way or not, for Apple hardware. They sell tons and tons and tons of iPhones. The more important thing to me, even beyond the quality of the products that Apple puts out, because I think they're going to stay relatively steady. Maybe the quality will go up and go down a little bit. Is that what they're selling is becoming more and more important in everyday life. So when Ford invented the car, okay, more or less, the car was this weird thing. Not everyone wanted a car. People scoffed at it. They wanted their horse-drawn carriages. As a car becomes more important, they're like the first mover, and to me, they're still the first mover in a meaningful way in the smartphone space. And everyone wants a smartphone. There's still room to grow there. They're the only company in this arena that gets China in the way that they do. Google has to sell their services, and China is not going to open up for Google services in the foreseeable future. Samsung, there's the cultural thing. There's the Korean versus Chinese thing. There will be internal competitors, like those kind of cool devices that are made by that company. I think the Mi company in China. But Apple gets China, so they still have all this room to grow. There's still room to grow in India and Brazil. They're doing it, and they're going to continue doing it. They own the supply chain, And the bigger they get, the better deals they will get financially. Their margins are going to stay steady or increase. Over the life of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, the margins will get better. So, you know, that was 10 minutes of me expounding upon Apple. I'm not Gene Munster and these other idiots, frankly, because they don't know what they're talking about. But holistically speaking, you're not going to get burned, and it's a good investment. It also, look, to just bogart a little more time here, when I look at the volatility of Apple, it's a huge stock. It's a huge company, the biggest in the world. There is still tons of movement. So if you watch it go down 2.5%, you can bet. You throw $1,000 at it, it's going to go up 2.5% the next day. It's one of the few companies where I would consider going into the day trading realm of things. It's a winner. They have so much money in the bank, it would take forever for them to get knocked out. So there you go. There's my spiel on Apple.
Doesn't that bother you that they have so much money in the bank?
No, they use it strategically. They're not wasteful. It's not Mitt Romney that's managing their money. They're not holding on to their money for the sake of holding on to their money. They want to do something with it, and they bought Beats. I don't 100% agree with that. They tried out the Sapphire thing. Maybe that didn't work. But you know what? How far can the downside be on AAPL when they're sitting on that type of cash? I mean, it's not a bet in Vegas. It's better than real estate.
Well, wasn't the whole idea of buying stocks that you're rewarded for giving money back to the company so they can do great things?
They're doing dividends.
Well, they're doing dividends, but every quarter it's like, oh, we just amassed $25 billion in more cash. We have $150 billion, and they're giving, what's their dividend ratio?
It's actually generous from my perspective.
So it's like, okay,
it's also quarterly.
Well, cool, yeah. So I don't know, but let me ask. This was the iPhone ending quarter. This was the Christmas ending quarter. This is October, November, December.
They do it by fiscal year, and their fiscal year is October 30. Begins October 30, I believe. These were This was their strong quarter.
Okay, so in history, this usually is the best quarter. We have 2 new iPhones. That wasn't an S release. Brand new form factor, brand new everything. A brand new iPad, presumably, and a brand new iPad Mini also.
That happens every year, hon. Yeah, what are you getting at?
No, I'm just saying. It's that Paul was asking what was not necessarily specific, but why was it so good? And I think it's specifically the iPhone.
Well, we're not looking quarter over quarter. We're looking year over year.
We're looking. So, this is. We don't even have to even put it into that perspective, Paul, because it's the best ever.
And it's not only like it's not like closest to the record. It doesn't like break every record known to man. Like it just destroyed last year's best ever.
They pick up. There's an extreme core of Apple fanboys and people who really like the stuff, and of course Google has that too. What I think Apple is really the reason that it's a mover at a stock level, at a huge company level, is because it's becoming the default for people when they're not thinking so much about what smartphone to purchase. They still kind of want an iPhone. Maybe they don't even care that much, but it even cost-wise, Apple can win. So they can appeal to the premium market and the mid-range market, and they are still leaving out the low-end market where the margins are always tighter. If you can win, if Tiffany's could sell to the high end and the mid end, they'd be a much bigger company. The same with Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom, or Audi or BMW. Actually, you see it in the car markets a little bit. There's the 3 Series. That just at a revenue level, it works, and they're keeping their margins super high.
Well, my only not concern, but the thing that not bothered me, that shocked me the most, I guess, was the fact that I think the iPhones now are becoming more and more expensive as more of the carriers are going, you got to buy it outright.
You mean expensive for the consumer or expensive for Apple?
No, for the consumer. So now the average consumer probably has to go out and buy the full price, and whether it's rent to own or whatever it is, I can see people not spending money on the highest end and saying, you know what, I can keep this another year. I can buy a used one. I can do this, because if I have to pay whatever $25 a month for 2 years, I don't necessarily want to do it.
Yeah, well, the carriers have an incentive to sell people on these new things though too, and there's the Apple Store. I just like
the cesspool of humanity where you walk in.
Go ahead, Paul.
How about the scenario where it didn't make sense to buy the base iPhone model because of the amount of storage?
Just from that perspective, Paul, that is a win for Apple because that extra $100 cost them $5.
I don't even think it costs $5. I think it literally costs them $1.50.
So what did it cost the consumer?
$100 to go from 16 to 64 gigabytes, and that 48 gigabyte difference. I think it's more like $5 time. I don't think it's literally $1.50. But what if I said what if I said to you, you can make a 95% profit on something? I mean, like margin wise, and it just goes up from there. So, they've got a good thing going. If Google needs to fight for that space and Samsung needs to fight, think of the position that they're in. Samsung and Google, the Android devices, they have micro SD slots, right? Where does that money go? Sometimes it goes back into Samsung, right? But then you're paying less per megabyte for that premium. It's pretty sweet for Apple to be able to say, oh, that's $95 more in our pocket if you go with the $750 model. Plus, we can stick it to our NAND suppliers, our RAM suppliers, even harder because we're buying in such bulk. I mean, they win out on both ends. So they've got a good thing going there. I don't know what else to say. Google has to fight for its money. They have to deal with advertisers and the rest. Apple, with this core of people, I mean, they certainly need their research and development end is incredibly expensive, and they have to build out their services end, and their retail end. But they still have the core group of people designing the software and the hardware and sourcing the product, the materials, and that has to expand with scale too. But still, the bottom line is they're getting so much money per developer's head, per software developer's head, per hardware developer's head, that's not going to change. They can still build the new iPhone with however many people are on the team, 1,000 people. They have a good thing going. Is the point?
But it's just so amazing. $18 billion. Someone said that puts it the 54th largest company, just the one quarter. I mean, right. Exxon and all the gas companies during what peak oil was making $9 billion a quarter, and we were complaining and we were saying, "Wow, making $9 billion a quarter, it's double." We go from there. 74.5 million iPhones sold, and I'm assuming that's per quarter.
Don't you like the hourly one though? 34,000 an hour.
How is that? I don't know how that's possible.
Well, we got pushing 7 billion people on the globe, right? I don't know. You got to think in
34,000 iPhones sold per hour.
Imagine going to the Apple Store that's that's servicing that repair line. I don't know what that even means in that context.
It's just, and I mean, the iPads. People are still talking that the iPads are going down. I don't know.
The bottom one.
Rivka bought one, so I mean, I guess they got our money, but
Paul, was that the single worst example of bad anecdotal evidence Haim has ever used? All of the graphs, all of the numbers say that iPad sales are down. He says my wife bought one, so screw that, screw all the.
No,
I think it's a good sample size.
Look, I tend to agree with the fact that the iPads are becoming less and less.
It doesn't matter because people that aren't buying an iPad are buying an iPhone. So what the hell do they care? What do they care? Money-wise.
Where's the higher margin?
It doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's on the mobiles. It's about the same. We're talking minimum 25%. By the end of the product life cycle, they might be pushing 50%.
And then the Macs held steady, 5.5 million, up from 4.8 million.
And they still don't have to put out a good email product. I think that Google's movie and song stuff is probably better than iTunes. Go ahead, Paul.
We have watches coming.
And then right, we have this huge, which is to me, it's there's this whole percentage of people that can easily afford a $500 purchase, and you know what? They're gonna just say, screw it.
I'm gonna buy a watch that I've never worn in the past 5 to 6 years.
I'm embarrassed to say they kind of have my money. I feel like all the clients I see, I always go into places where my 15-inch MacBook Pro is this like foreign entity, this like kind of exotic thing to see, and everyone has an iPhone though, but I just have to have the watch to like keep up appearances more or less.
Well, now you go back to the old joke. You can get an older. You can have your iPhone last a little longer as long as the watch is new.
I guess I don't know if that's true.
All
right, so where are we at? That's got to be more than 10 minutes on Apple, right, huh?
13 minutes.
13 minutes on Apple. Okay, what are the Google numbers? I mean, look, I'm not. This is not to denigrate Google. It's a their model is different. Google is a sprawling, largely unfocused, I think, organization. Or maybe their focus is just it's like siloed amongst search and Android and then like Gmail or something. But what are their numbers like, huh?
I was just looking for it, and I thought I had it, and then I lost it again. But basically, it was a disappointment. It wasn't. And what I don't understand is how could it be a disappointment? I mean, is the money not enough?
Well, it's not. Wall Street. The whole there's this strata of Wall Street analysts who just they throw out numbers, and then a stock either misses the expectations or it meets them.
Well, it missed it.
Exceeds them, or it hits them exactly right. So, I don't know what you.
Revenue is $18.1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That which is not profit.
Yes, revenue is not profit unless you're like a prostitute, and then even then you have to pay your pimp. But yeah, okay.
And now I lost it. I'm like so bad at this research. I mean, but what I see and what I hear is that most school districts now, and I don't know if this makes any difference, is that the iPads that were last year's the hot item are now moving towards Chromebooks.
Okay.
And so what I don't understand is Google is now taking this huge chunk of the education market that Apple once had, and I would think that would push a lot of stuff way up. But I guess it didn't.
Look, I think that the Chromebook is a good alternative for education. I think that I just had to use Chromebook support today and I was not on hold at all. There was actually a human being at the other end. They transferred me to a supervisor. It was like a real customer service experience that I've only Google actually does have people who can get on the phone for certain products. In any case, yeah, that takes a long time to build out. Chromebooks are low margin things. Even when Google is selling Google Apps, it seems like they're wringing a lot of money out of you, $50 a seat for Google Apps business. But there's a huge infrastructure at work to make that work. Tons of hard drives, tons of servers, electricity, network infrastructure. And they're not. I don't know. It's more like an Amazonian type thing than an Apple type thing for all of Google's products. It's like we're not talking about the Chromebook Pixel.
I mean, what I find important is that Apple still doesn't have a great cloud service, and that's what people are complaining about that, and yet nobody cares.
It almost works to their advantage because then Google fills the gap, thinking that they're going to make a lot of ad dollars, and then the iPhone experience becomes better.
So it's just.
I agree with that.
Justin, do me a favor. Try and figure out this number of profit because I cannot find it.
What does that mean, number of profit? What do you want? You want me to
go? I'm trying to find the Google earnings, and I don't see what their profit was.
Type in GOOG. You mean profit for a period of time?
For their quarterly profit.
Just Google that, huh? I can't believe.
I'm telling you, I can't figure. I'm not finding it.
Okay, it's you have to reach deep into Eric Schmidt's nether regions. What do you want me to say? It's not like a secret. If they did an earnings call, the number is out there. What do you go to the PE ratio of the stock, the profit to earnings ratio. I mean, what's that at? I don't even follow Google. I don't know. I know it's a massive cost per share, but it's not Berkshire Hathaway A or B. I mean, anyway, let's. We are doing a lot of boring stuff here. I mean, Paul, when do you think about this stuff at all? I mean, like if you're not actively in the market. Do you think it affects strategy on the parts of these companies?
If one company is coming out higher than the other?
Don't you want to believe that the engineers are insulated from this stuff, right? Like, I don't know exactly how it works, but like, where do you come down on these earnings numbers? Is it something that you talk about at work the way you might talk about the new Apple Watch or an LG watch from Google, that's running Android or something?
No, it doesn't really affect my job per se.
None of this matters. It's surprising to see, but I don't think it matters in any way.
Wall Street.
You know what matters was like when. What's that?
Well, I was gonna say Wall Street likes winners, and you know that. It's like when you eat at McDonald's, you damn well know if you get a finger in your hamburger, that's like $1 million right there, And if your iPhone burns you, there's a lawyer that's going to take that case for five. I'm just saying they're huge, and the support is big that comes along with it. The infrastructure is big, but that's all.
Well, look, we always say, do earnings matter? And I think it just matters if you're trying to make money. If you're trying to use a product, I don't think it matters.
All right, okay. So we want to bifurcate this show. You want to talk about broadband now? That's what you want to do, Time?
Yeah, because I don't think people really care about earnings. I was just so shocked to see how well Apple did. Just right now, 3 p.m. today, the FTC says broadband should be defined as 25 megabits down, 3 megabits up.
I would have liked to have seen the upstream be a little bit higher. But okay.
And the idea is that Comcast claims, Comcast being the juggernaut in the group, that's one, going to hurt competition, and two, it now puts a monopoly when you say, I only have one broadband provider. Because before Comcast said, you can go with DSL, that's broadband. Now they can't say that. So now I think it's another push to try and get Comcast to either open up or to lower prices or to be regulated a little more than it is now.
And be Obama's into net neutrality. There's one other thing I want to throw in there. Apparently, you can't throttle unlimited data plans and call it unlimited. Is that right?
Yes, I saw that also. So I have a truly unlimited 4G data plan that they cannot throttle.
I get 15 gigabytes from AT&T. I don't think I've gone above 3 in the last 3 years. But
do you watch Netflix on data?
I do a huge amount of streaming, all in my car, and I drive it too much. All my car audio is from LTE or 4G, and it's iTunes Radio. All the navigation is on LTE or on on cellular. And in addition,
I just don't think you could comfortably add in video streaming into your mix.
Well, I do FaceTime video calls a lot while I'm driving, and not that I'm looking at the video. The person is looking at me. It's almost my way of saying, I'm in the car, I am this busy. But the calls are 400 or 500 megabytes each usually.
Megabytes?
Yeah, they're big. I'm streaming 500 megabyte, over.
And you only use 3 gigs a month?
That's what Apple. That's what when you go into the call log, it usually. I don't know where my phone is right now.
When Paul a few years ago was using something like 6 or 7. Has that gone up, Paul?
No, it's gone down because now I have a cap on my data, and I've changed my behavior.
But
if
Paul,
take a guess, if you didn't change your behavior, what do you think you would be on?
Oh, I would be 15 gigs easy.
Paul, do you put your phone in airplane mode with Wi-Fi when you're at home?
No.
I do that just by default. And then every time you go to somewhere that you know of with Wi-Fi, are you on their Wi-Fi or is
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Why would you put your phone on airplane mode Wi-Fi only?
Well, one, I don't like getting calls directly to my cell phone number. I just have gotten out of that habit. It's either Google Voice or FaceTime, frankly. It's effectively I get Wi-Fi calling at some level, and it's a battery life thing. Apple claims it shouldn't be any worse having the cellular modem cranking out, but I just don't need it.
I feel like that's such a pain in the neck to go into all the settings just to do airplane Wi-Fi only.
It takes 2 seconds. I swipe up, I press airplane mode, and then I press Wi-Fi immediately afterwards.
That can't be a great UI experience or UX experience.
It is absolutely.
I can't. I can see NFC being way easier or something else, but I don't know.
You're being ridiculous. You just don't even know what you're talking. If you're thinking about the swipe down from the top notification window / control center that's in Lollipop, which is a pain in the ass on my Nexus 7, that's a different story.
No, look, it's the same number of swipes.
Well,
I just don't know why you would do that. I still don't get why you would do that, but fine.
It's a battery life thing. But going back to Wi-Fi, I had an issue with Comcast at one office. There's one company that's a client of mine, and they have 10 offices in New Jersey. Only one has Comcast internet, okay? They never have had a problem at any of the other offices. All of a sudden, I get complaints through my support system that things are just slow. All right, and I ignored it for a while because I figured they were just overusing the network. We don't block Facebook or YouTube or anything at their offices. I looked for like a month, and this is my fault. Comcast was giving 1 megabit downstream and 5 megabits upstream, right? It took me 1 month to get someone to go out there and fix it. What I'm getting around to, though, is that the average across all the business accounts that I manage in New Jersey, and it's quite a lot, some of those offices are getting 175, like rated speeds of 175 megabits downstream, and they get above that in speed testing, and about 50 megabits upstream rated, and it's about 25 megabits in actual testing. To me, 175/25 is pretty legit broadband service. It's like, you know, it's like $250 a month, but it's at least it's out there.
Well, look, in this area on the East Coast, saying that the 25 down 3 up or 25 down 5 up is the bare minimum. I think that's going to hurt ISPs out west where it's satellite only or you can't get it.
Satellite is archaic. What are you talking about? You're talking about it's still going to be coax to premises.
It's still to get 25 down and 5 up, or 3 up. That's not the easiest thing in the world. But okay, fine. But the idea was now that you redefine that, DSL goes out the window. DSL is no longer broadband.
Okay, Paul, what are you going to say?
I think it would be a problem in rural areas.
But is it a naming problem? I mean, is that what it comes down to? Like, I mean, so they call it fast internet. Is that allowed?
Well, I think the rule is that there's going to be subsidies to bring high-speed internet to all Americans.
Look,
and if you can't provide high-speed, Verizon did that.
So that's a very positive thing.
Well, absolutely. Verizon said they went to the state of New Jersey and they said we're going to give 98% or 99.8% of New Jerseyans high-speed internet with FiOS. Give us a tax break. Congress said absolutely great, let's do it. Then they claim in July this happened that, you know what, 4G LTE is the exact same thing as FiOS, and therefore we're not building out FiOS anymore.
Okay, that's not exactly. I kind of understand things a little bit differently. I don't know. I think that was like the abridged version of what happened. But yeah, they stopped building out FiOS. But one of the things that I realized is when I put one of my 4G hotspots in replacement during that month where Comcast was not fixing the modem and fixing the wiring problems, luckily the router I had at that particular site could use a USB hotspot. And you know what? To be honest with you, there are 30+ people at that office. The fact is, Verizon's 4G LTE served admirably during that time.
Yeah, but what's the cost of that?
Very cheap. The plan for the company at large, we got static IP addresses for all of the mobile hotspots, which is really cool. By the way, I've rolled out like 20 mobile hotspots with Verizon 4G LTE with static IPs. They never shut off. There's never a problem. I'm very impressed, frankly. It almost obviates the need for wired internet at all, to be honest.
Well, so I mean, you have to be paying more money than you would being wired in.
I don't know. Here's the thing: the per cost for me to roll out a new wireless hotspot is very cheap. It's an additional $20 per month. I don't know what if I look at the total Verizon bill for this company, it's thousands and thousands of dollars per month. But it's like to me the incremental costs at this point are negligible.
Remember when we spoke to?
I have 20 static IP addresses on 20. Mobile USB hotspots connected to mobile routers.
Well, go back to Elizabeth. We spoke to Elizabeth forever ago. She lives in Cape May, and she's saying the majority of Cape May, at least in her area, is still on dial-up in New Jersey.
They need to start attaching broadband hotspots to whales.
Well, okay, so how much? If I go into the Verizon store now and say I need a Wi-Fi hotspot, they're going to charge me $50 a month for 10 gigs.
I don't know. Seems reasonable enough. Paul,
So,
how often, Paul? You were talking about rural America earlier. Isn't broadband like electricity in your life anyway now?
Yes, it's essential.
But not even that it's essential. It's ubiquitous too. I mean, how much do you have to think about it?
I say that's correct. Not a lot. It's pretty ubiquitous.
look, until this year, I didn't have Wi-Fi at the school. I had no method of communication at my school.
Except for speaking. I mean, you could speak and like use sign language or write things down if you needed to, right?
Well, like I couldn't pick up the phone and call a non-732 number.
Okay.
I mean, and you still go to some parts and there's no Wi-Fi or whatever it is. How many times you're out and you're like, I really need to get Wi-Fi. It's surprisingly enough. But either way, this is a good thing because we got to wrap up. This is a good thing that they're doing it. Hopefully, it breeds more competition. Hopefully, it reins Comcast in a little bit to say, hey, you know what? We're going to be the only game in town because DSL now doesn't count. We're either going to be relegated to a utility or some sort of competition has to come up.
All right, well, we will see what happens, and I will get the details on my total data usage per month and the actual megabyte usage of my FaceTime audio and video calls. Okay, this has been episode, what did I say, 365 million of inThirty?
173.
Talking about stocks and broadband. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
All right, I got to go right away.